Hey there, I'm Lance and I'm a gamer.
And I'm Sam and I'm a non-gamer.
And we are Love to Hate, where we help gamers find great games to play with non-gamers.
And today we're taking a look at Falcons by Trophy Point Games.
Falcons is the U.S. Air Force Academy board game, and if you recall, we did a preview video for Trophy Point Games on their West Point Academy board game, and so this is their sequel, this is their follow-up to that with the Air Force theme behind it, and so this is going to be a game in which is going to have a lot of names and places that if you know anything about the Air Force Academy, you will recognize with this particular game. And it's going to be near and dear to a lot of people that are involved with the Air Force. This is going to be something that hits close to home for you guys. So we do want to thank the folks at Trophy Point Games for help sponsoring this video. And Falcons is going to be coming to Kickstarter here in the very near future, so make sure to check out the link down below in the description of this video to check out that campaign page to get all the details on it. Now with this one, you are going to be an Air Force recruit, and you are going to be traveling around the terrazzo in this one, trying to gather up academic and training cards, preparing you for different competitions over the course of 4 rounds. Let's go down to the table, we'll show you how this one works, and then we'll come back and share our thoughts on it as a gamer and non-gamer. All right, I have Falcons, the United States Air Force Academy board game on the table. Now, I do want to make sure you understand everything you see here is prototype, the final artwork components, maybe even some of the rules might change once it's released from crowdfunding. That being said, let's go ahead and show you what you have with this game. You do have a central board here, lots of cards, some dice, some cadet meeples, a bag with some character tokens in it. We'll come back to this here in just a second. Score markers up there, a round tracker, some event cards, and that's about it with this game. Now, what you'll be doing in this game is you'll be moving down the terrazzo, which is an action track, and you're going to be selecting what actions you're going to be taking throughout this course of the game. Basically trying to gather these cards here to help you compete for the different competitions that will be on this side of the board, and you'll be doing this over the course of 4 rounds. Now, in more detail, what's going to happen on your turn, starting with whoever is at the front of the line in the terrazzo here, so this would be the blue cadet, you can move your cadet as far down the terrazzo as you want, picking whatever action spot you land on, but just know that whatever you pass over, you will not get to move backwards to take on a future action. So you don't want to move too far down the line because then you'll be passing up options, but do know that only one person can fit in each one of these squares, and not only that, but you can only pick one action in each grouping. So between these 4 actions right here, you can only pick one, and between these 3, you can only pick one. Between those 3, you only pick one, and so on and so forth. So that's the idea here. So let's cover what the different spots let you do. You'll see that there are these 3 icons, and they're going to be on a lot of the spaces that are out here, and anywhere you see an icon that matches one of these 3 stacks, you're essentially just going to draw a card from that stack. So in other words, if I go to this spot right here, I would get to take 2 academic cards, and going to this spot right here would get me 2 physical cards. That spot right there gets me 2 action cards. And that's pretty much the case anywhere you see it in the terrazzo. So let's look at some of these cards real quick. The cards are going to have different things on them that would be familiar to you if you are familiar with the Air Force Academy. If you know anybody that's been in that, you've got family members, or if you yourself have been in it, I'm sure you've probably pulled an all-nighter before. And this card is going to get you 5 points towards an academic competition. We'll come back to that here in just a second. The extra instruction here is going to get you 3 points. The group study is going to get you 4 points. And Rub McDermott's statue has a die icon on it, and essentially what that means is you will roll a d6 to determine the value of what this card is worth whenever you play it. Now, the physical cards, they're going to act in the same manner. Give me a quote here, it's got a die on it, dually training session, AMI ready, morning minutes, you get the idea here. So it's essentially the same idea as the academic cards, but these are going to be for physical competitions. Now, the action cards here, they're going to let you do something special on the card, and you're going to play it whenever the card says to basically play it. So for instance, view any player's hand. You can play this at any time to look at what cards they have in your hand, but more than likely you're probably going to play this as you get ready to start a competition, so you can see what that opponent has in their hand prior to you playing the cards you're going to want to play. Here's another one, re-rack. Reroll any die. This just essentially lets you re-roll any die. So maybe you got a bad die roll on one of those cards that you have to roll a die to determine the value. You could play this to let you re-roll that. And Tours here is going to let you to negate somebody who played a card probably against you, a negative thing against you. You could play this to basically negate it and say, nope, I don't think so, and you cannot do whatever it is that you are about to do. Here's another example, training violation. Play on any player in a competition, subtract 2 from their total, as you can see, -2 right here. So those are some examples of what the action cards do. Let's go back to what some of the options are out here. The golden star, that's just going to be straight victory points, and you're keeping track of your victory points here on the outside edge, so you would move your marker 2 spaces forward if you took this spot here. Now this spot right here with the justice weighing scales, and you can see it right here as well, that's going to let you draw a token from the character bag. Now what these tokens are, they're going to be 1s and 3s, and so you'll draw a token, and as you can see there are some 3s there, there's a 1. You'll take a look, you'll peek at what it is, and then you'll keep it face down in front of you for the rest of the entire game. And people will know how many tokens you have, but they won't know what their value is. Again, it's either going to be 1 or 3. At the end of the game, the player who has the least cumulative total of character is going to be eliminated from the game. It's not the number of tokens, but it's the value of the tokens. Whoever has the least is going to be eliminated, so you want to get some character in the game. Now, if you have the most character at the end of the game, you'll get 6 additional points. So you do want to try to have the most, you just absolutely don't want to have the least, because you'll get eliminated. You cannot win the game. Now, as you're moving down this line, and again, you can only take 1 action spot in each grouping, as you come down to this side of the board, you will start to compete for the competitions. Now, as you can see, there's a grouping for this competition. You've got this little grouping in between of these 2 competitions, and then you have this grouping right here for this competition, and then you have this grouping down here for the main competition that everybody will be participating in. These 2 competitions only have spots available for 3 players, and this spot right here is only available if you are playing in a 4-player game. Otherwise, you would only have 2 spots available for each competition. So not everybody's going to be participating in these competitions, these first 2 anyhow, but let's talk about how these competitions work. So a competition is going to tell you whether it is physical competition, such as Wing Commander, as denoted by the icon for physical, or if it is an academic competition, such as Astro Final. Now, you'll take a look at the awards here. This is the award for whoever wins the competition, 2nd place, and 3rd place. And you do have to play at least 1 card to be able to get anything on the card. You can't just go to the competition and not even play any cards and hope to get something. So let's cover what these things are. 1st place here would get 5 victory points. 2nd place would get 2 victory points plus 1 action card. 3rd place here would only get 1 action card. So let's talk about how a competition works. You'll look at the players that are involved in the competition, and so let's say that blue here took this spot and drew a card. Let's say gold here took that spot and took the victory point, and let's say silver here just won it in the competition. Red was unable to participate. You don't actually start the competition until all the players are either on the competition or have moved beyond it. So the red player here would actually have to move beyond it, and maybe they go right there and get to take 1 of every card. And now that everybody is either on the competition or has moved beyond it, we could start the competition. And what's going to happen is that all the players that are in the competition can select up to 3 cards that match the type. So this is an academic competition, and you could only play academic cards. Now, you could play action cards that might help you right before the competition begins, but otherwise, you're only playing academic cards. And you would secretly select which ones and how many. You do that underneath the table so nobody can see that you're committing to 2 cards, for instance. But then on the count of 3, everybody reveals how many cards they've played and what exactly those cards are. So in this case, I have a score of 7, and we would compare to see who has the highest score. And again, if you have any of those ones with dice on them, you would have to roll a die to determine the value for it and add that to your score. And again, you could play action cards to negate or decrease somebody's score. As I showed you, that one had a -2 on it. You could do that as well. Now, if there is a tie, you're going to go off of the tiebreaker right here, which is whoever it took the front spot in that competition, they hold the tiebreaker. So the gold player here holds the tiebreaker. And that's essentially going to be the case for all the competitions. Now, in addition to if you win, you get this top prize, but you also get to take the card. And the reason why that's important is because some cards do let you play that card, discarding it to do the special ability printed on the card. Now, not all the cards have that on them. And another thing, too, you want to pay attention to is that some cards, such as Ghost Cadet here, they're not going to give you any points if you win. You get 3 points if you get second. So maybe you don't want to win the competition, and maybe you want to get second. So that's pretty much the gist for how these competitions work. Now, these 4 competitions down here at the bottom, as I mentioned to you, all the players are going to compete. And as you can see, there's awards for all 4. Sometimes the 4th place here doesn't get any points. And they're always going to be in this order: dually recognition, commitment, ring dance, and graduation. And you'll play them in that order. And that just sort of signifies the 4 years as you go through the academy here. And again, you want to try to compete and win the points for these cards, and you do get to keep the card if you win the competition. Now, at the end of the first round, as you move into the second, third, and fourth round, you will reveal an event card, and there are lots of events here, so you're not going to play through with all of these every game. You're only going to play with 3, but the event is going to shake up how that round works for the next round. Treat extra minutes and morning minutes as dice cards instead of 3s. Those are the 3s in both of these 2 decks. You would treat them as dice cards, rolling a die instead of it being a 3. So that's an example, Fog of War there. Here's another example. Squadron strats. You're going to roll a die and get something based off of what you rolled. Here's another example. Rapid redeployment. Second and third place rewards are switched in all competitions. So that's really going to shake up how you want to compete for these different competitions, because maybe you don't want to get second, now you want to get third, because usually the second reward is better than the third place reward. Anyway, that's what you have here with these events. And I do want to point out, it's way up here at the top, there are extra competition cards to shake up these competition stacks. You're going to play with 4 in each stack, and as you can see, you have extra ones here, so you can change the way this all shakes out, and there's some replayability with that as well. Anyway, at the end of 4 rounds, you'll see who has the most victory points. They're not necessarily the winner, because you got to come back to the character tokens, and you got to see who has the least amount of character, because that player is eliminated. And then whoever has the most character, they're going to get 6 extra points added to their score, and then you'll see who has the most points to determine the winner. That is how you play Falcons, United States Air Force Academy board game. Let's go back up top and share our thoughts on this one. And we're back, and now we're going to share our thoughts on Falcons from a gamer and non-gamer's perspective. So Sam, with this particular game, it's got that action selection track that you're going to be moving down, choosing what actions you want to do, and it's got that concept of you can move as far down as you want to get the best pick of the action you want at that particular time, but you can never move backwards. So you're going to skip over actions if you go too far. What did you think about this particular game with that being the main mechanic?
I like that mechanic. I feel like we are seeing it more frequently, and I think it's a good mechanic. It's easy to understand. It can be frustrating at times, or there is definitely that you're where I need to be, and you can't. There's no waiting for them to get off that space.
You got to go
now. Get it.
Yeah.
So that's frustrating, but I think in general it's easy to understand. It's very visual, and it's a mechanic that I like.
Yeah. And I think with this one, it's pretty straightforward. You're not being overwhelmed with so many choices that you can't kind of really figure out what's the best thing to do. You know, you really got the choices of, do you want some academic cards? Do you want some training cards? Do you want those action cards? Maybe you just want points. Or really, and I really like this part of it, do you need some character, right? Drawing those character tokens out of the bag, because you can't be that person who doesn't have enough character and get eliminated at the end of the game. I love that aspect with this one, that's always something at the back of your mind of being, I want to be first and get those extra bonus points, but I just don't want to be last, right? I find that to be very interesting with this one. Let's talk about you as the non-gamer playing this one and trying to figure out how to do well in this game. What was that like for you?
I think it was a little bit challenging just figuring out what cards I needed more of. I felt like probably the first 2 rounds I was just trying to get a variety of different cards, and then the last 2 rounds I had a little bit more of an idea of what I was trying to focus on.
Okay.
But it's definitely one of those games where you play it once and you're really just learning it, and then you're like, okay, at the end you're like, I get it, I want to play again because I feel like I could do better.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
And then you throw in those competitions at the end of every round, and the order in which they come out, and that you've got a lot of them, and you're not going to be playing with all of them in every game. So there's some replayability with what competition cards come out.
Yeah.
And then those event cards too. You've got a lot of event cards that are going to shake up rounds 2, 3, and 4. So there's a lot of replayability with this in trying to figure out how do you get good cards and manage your hand well for those competitions.
Yeah.
Because really that's what this is, right? Like we talked about that action selection track, but this really is a hand management, trying to manage your cards well, trying to be clever about winning, or sometimes you don't even want to win those competitions. You want to get second or you want to get third.
Yeah, I think those are the times it's actually even harder because...
Yeah, that cleverness, that trickiness aspect of the game is maybe like a step up in the gaming complexity. So, but I think it's still a game that's fairly straightforward, that I think you can play with just about anyone. The box says ages 14 and up, and I think the only reason why maybe that's 14 and up is we're talking about that, that it's got that cleverness, that trickiness with, I may intentionally want to lose here.
Yeah.
Just that little extra gaming concept of trying to figure that out. So, but one that I think is really interesting, and I think a lot of people are going to like with this one. So the game is Falcons, the U.S. Air Force Academy board game. It is from Trophy Point Games. And again, it is running on crowdfunding here in the very near future. So check out the link down below in the description of this video.
Make sure to like and subscribe and push that bell button so you get notifications of all our new content.
I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate, where we try to bridge the gap between gamers and non-gamers. We'll catch you next time.